right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to KickSaga. We are relaunching this series of interviews where I talk with people who are bringing their tabletop game creations to life via crowdfunding. And we're going to change up the formatting a little bit. So now, instead of just talking to first-time Kickstarter creators, we're going to be talking to all sorts of people who are launching games, whether it's their first time or their 100th time, just to, I figure we can learn something from everybody. So we can learn, about people who are kind of veterans in this space. We can learn from people who are doing it for the first time. And then we can learn from folks like I have today who this is their second Kickstarter, and they have a few games out in the market now. And so I'm really excited to bring back on Dickie Chapin of Frown Clown Games. How you doing, Dickie?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Thanks for coming back on the show and
Yeah,
for
thanks
kind of
for having
helping
me
us
back.
kick off this new, um, you know, version of KickSaga to kind of dig into a little bit how your second crowdfunding campaign has gone. So this campaign is for a game that I'm super excited about. This one is for a game called Hairband. And this is one where this is how I kind of got first introduced to you, how I came across you. We were both creating band games at the time, and you had Hairband that you were working on, and so I checked that out to try to get some inspiration and to make sure that I wasn't creating a very similar game as you. And from the first time I played it, I was blown away by the thematic touches that you added to it, and we'll get into all that here in the interview. But first of all, I just wanted to see how you've been and see kind of what's happened since we last interviewed you, because to remind the audience about kind of where we know you from before is we had you on the show previously to talk about Joystick Heroes, which was your first game that you launched on Kickstarter, and we talked through kind of how things went with that. You did end up funding that, and kind of learning a lot of lessons along the way. So could you kind of catch us up to kind of the high level stuff that's gone on between then and now?
Yeah, sure. First of all, I'm like you said, I met you through our mutual band games, and I did the same thing when you were checking my game out to make sure there were no wires crossed. I was doing the
Yep,
same thing. So, yeah, that
totally.
was fun. And gosh, that was how many years ago now? Many years ago.
It's
Um,
been a while. It's all a blur to me, honestly.
yes, for sure. Um, well, Joystick Heroes was my first campaign, and I didn't know. Knew even less then than I know now, which is still not very much about how to do a crowdfunding project. That campaign barely limped over the line. Very late in the campaign, like the last couple days before it ended, it finally crossed the line. So definitely didn't make my money back that I had spent on that, but as you know, as a game designer, a large chunk of the satisfaction that comes from this is just getting your game out there. So I was very happy to get the game out there and to know that a small group of people around the world were going to play my game. So um, that was satisfying, not profitable but satisfying. And then here we are, just this year, working on Hairband. Just launched it yesterday, and it funded on day one. So a huge difference
Awesome.
between that and
Yeah.
campaign and this campaign. So yeah, very happy with how it's going so far.
Very cool. And kind of in between there, you had another game that you launched straight to retail. Can you just kind of talk a little bit about that? Maybe your reasonings for trying that way and how that went.
Sure. Yeah, I kind of wanted to, well, based on the lack of success of Joystick Heroes via crowdfunding, I thought, maybe now that I've got one game out and I've got a company that maybe some people are familiar with, maybe I could just try to release this one on my own rather than going through that stress again of trying to crowdfund. And
Hmm.
I had a partner, a co-publisher who was willing to help me push it to retail. So I funded that game myself, the manufacturing, and Uh, After it came back, unfortunately, that co-publisher ran into some personal problems and wasn't able to come through on the pushing to retail. So
Mm.
I was stuck with all the copies, and
Oh no.
they were being warehoused in Florida at Quartermaster, and I didn't really know what to do. So fortunately, Quartermaster actually pushed it to retailers and were able
Nice.
to unload a lot of copies, several hundred copies for me without me doing anything, and that's something I didn't expect.
Very
And then
cool.
I just sold copies through my website. And now I'm selling copies, as an kind of an add-on to the hairband campaign, and that's going well. So those have been sitting in the warehouse for a while, and I'm happy to get some of them out there again.
Yeah, it's it if anything, you're building a catalog now, right, of games that are available. So if people discover you guys for the first time, they'll be able to kind of go down the rabbit hole of other titles you have, and
Yeah,
they could feed into all the future Kickstarters can feed it back into that catalog, which
right,
is very
exactly.
cool.
And maybe I can kind of piggyback on previous releases by featuring them as add-ons for future campaigns, which I'm doing.
Yeah,
And
nice.
Joystick Heroes was a small print run, and it actually sold out. So it's out
Hmm,
of print now, and I don't have any more copies. So that's kind of nice.
that's good.
Yeah.
How did that and eventually end up selling out? Was it through your website? Did you ever take it to retail, or was it basically just the Kickstarter?
It was all three. It was mainly the Kickstarter, but then I also sold copies off from the website. I did some just advertising on my own through Facebook and
Mm,
other avenues, and ended up selling them a good amount of them through the website.
nice.
Uh, and then distribution helped with that as well.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So kind of fast forwarding to now, before we talk about the campaign for Hairband, why don't you just tell us a little bit about the game, its genesis, and like some of the gameplay highlights?
Yeah. So back in 2018 or 19, when I first started designing games, I kind of had three or four themes that I wanted to tackle. And uh, hair metal was precious to me growing up. And I was huge into being in rock bands all my life, and watched MTV and Headbangers Ball back in the day. And so I thought that would be a really fun theme for a game, and just to highlight all the ridiculousness and the humor behind the genre. And it was massively popular back then, and then it just died. So it's got its own really cool story, and I thought it would make a great theme for a game. So I started designing it, like I said, 7 years ago, and I found an illustrator who absolutely nailed the look and the entire. He was a huge fan of the genre,
Nice.
fantastic illustrator, and I knew I was going to need those for the game. So even before I started really getting deep into the design, I had him start to pump out rocker illustrations. Um, Definitely premature. Don't ever do that if you're a game designer, but it's definitely backwards. But it worked out this time. And the game went through maybe 5 or 6 major iterations over the course of these past 6 years, and obviously hundreds and hundreds of play tests and tweaks, and finally kind of landed where it is now. I did have a co-publisher. This is another interesting side story. I had a co-publisher for this game that I signed a contract with like 2 years ago, and we never kind of got it rolling together. So when the contract ran up, uh, I was able to get the game back in my possession and run pretty fast with it. They did help me to acquire a lot of pre-launch followers, which was excellent. They did a
Nice.
lot of advertising last year and got my pre-followers up to over 2,000. So when we parted ways, I was able to maintain those followers, and that obviously allowed me to have some success.
It's amazing the amount of stories that I've had on this show about people who are launching, games with a co-publisher, and then something goes wrong. Like the
Yeah,
co-publisher just, doesn't follow through, or they go out of business, or something happens, and that just kind of goes to show that this is a very by the skin of your teeth type of business, and nothing's really guaranteed because anything can happen, and
yeah.
anything can throw things off course.
I mean, profit
um,
margins are so low in this industry that
yeah,
it doesn't take much for somebody to say, you know what, I can't do this. So, I totally understand. And as I mentioned earlier, this is the second time this has happened for me, having a
right.
co-publisher that kind of pulled out. But, again, I totally understand. There's no hard feelings, and I'm just happy that I was able to pick up the ball, and run with it.
Yeah, and I think the big lesson for people listening is just, it is tempting to want to have some help, from someone when you're doing this for the first time, or for,
Absolutely.
early on in the process, but just not to like kind of put all your eggs in that basket, because it's not guaranteed, and to
Yeah.
still have a plan if that doesn't go through, which it seems like you did.
Yeah. Well, I didn't really, but I had to make one up pretty fast
You had to
if
figure it out, huh?
I still wanted to get this out. So yeah.
Yeah, I like and just going back, I remember when I played Hairband for the first time, I was blown away by how polished it looked, and it had all these, final looking illustrations and stuff, and those illustrations do really capture the theme and the essence of the theme really well. It reminds me of some of those like Mad Magazine type illustrations from the 80s, and so
Hmm.
it kind of transports you back to those days when you have the kind of over exaggerated type of larger than life illustrations that you don't see too much anymore, and so that
Yeah.
really kind of pulls you back into that time, and it's just so evocative and so fun, and you could tell right away that the game doesn't take itself too seriously, which comes
Definitely
through
not.
in every aspect of it, other than it's a lot of fun. Like it takes being a good game very seriously, and that's the second thing that struck me is over time to see just how focused on playtesting and iterating you were, because every time I played the game there were all these changes, and it was very different than the time I played before, and to keep pushing to find the best version of the game you could was pretty impressive as well. And so to have it get to where it is now, I think is a testament, but I think also people should be if they're interested in the game, um, they should know that like this game has been through the ringer. It's gone through
Yeah,
all of the kind of the things it needs to go through to be the best version of itself it could be.
for sure. I appreciate that. And every time I release a game, I really feel like I should credit playtesters. They helped to
Me too.
design the game.
Yep.
You did, and everybody else who played it, who tested it, they made it the game that it is, and they made it a much better game. And I kind of feel like my gaming groups in particular, whenever I get a game that's either signed by a publisher or that I release myself, I'm like, this is a win for us. Yes, my name's on the box, but you guys helped to make this game. So kudos to everybody who's helped along the way in that way.
Yeah, it's great when you have a game that you have a lot of people willing to play test, and then at the final version of the game, as you're playing it, you see like the fingerprints of all the people who play tested it. Okay, that was Dickie's idea. Oh, that was
Totally.
so and so's idea, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and yeah, it's such a community thing, which is very
Yes.
cool, and what I love about this industry as a whole, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So give us the elevator pitch.
Mhm.
Not too quick, but not too short, or not too
Yeah.
long either, about kind of the gameplay and the mechanisms of the game.
Sure. Yeah. You asked about that earlier. I think I didn't mention it. So Hairband is a kind of it's a tabletop tribute to that genre, that decade of music in the 80s, the whole glam metal Hollywood Sunset Strip lifestyle that was captured on MTV and that was made so popular. So in the game, you form a glam metal band in the 80s on the Sunset Strip, and you're basically trying to get a record deal. The first player to get a record deal wins, and in order to do that, you are practicing, writing songs, posting flyers, performing shows, partying, everything you can imagine that an upstart 80s glam metal band would do if they lived in Los Angeles, and all the debauchery and drama that comes along with it. So you're managing your band, you're improving, you're building your fan base and avoiding band drama that can derail you on your way to that record deal. And yeah, the first player to get a record deal by satisfying some requirements on a record deal contract card that you get wins the game.
One of my favorite, well, the game uses one of my favorite mechanisms, which is dice placement.
Yes.
And I love that mechanism because it combines the thrill of rolling the dice and the unknown and the randomness of that with control, over
Yeah.
that, and being able to
Yeah.
make decisions around that.
Yeah.
And it has a cool kind of, you're rolling dice, and then you're kind of drafting your own dice and choosing which ones to place out, on a board, and then those are
Yeah.
firing off in a certain order.
Yeah,
Um,
I felt that dice was the perfect mechanism for a game about hair metal. I mean, it's kind of what you would expect. You're rolling colorful
mhm.
dice, and but like you said, there is definitely mitigation as well. You're choosing what to do with those dice after you roll them. So it's I always forget it's not output randomness, input randomness. I forget which one that is, but it's not that one. Um, uh, and yeah, it's a fast and loose game. Speaking of playtests we were talking about earlier, I remember one particular playtest where I was trying to be a little bit too clever with making this game too gamery, too strategic.
Mm.
And a playtester had some very, very memorable words. He said, "Look at the theme of this game. This game should be fast and loose. Keep it fast and loose." So I
Yeah.
ended up ripping out some mechanisms and leaning into the dice rolling, and I'm like, you know what, this should be just happy-go-lucky, roll dice, deal with drama, laugh a lot. There's a ton of humor in those drama cards, which really provide most of the flavor in the game, most of the theme,
Mhm.
a lot of the theme. So yeah, those words stuck with me, and that's been kind of my credo for this game since that playtest.
And I remember playtesting, through the playtesting process, the glimpses that I had into it, that was something that you were always kind of trying to balance, is the chaotic fun of it versus, this strategic, something that actual, gamers could sink their teeth into.
Yes,
And it feels like you struck a good balance between those two things, where
that
you're
is
rolling
definitely.
dice and you're doing crazy stuff, but you do still have some control over it, and you can, make some strategies and still have fun from a
Yeah,
gameplay
there are
point of view.
definitely multiple ways to win, multiple strategies. If you want, you
Yeah.
can be the band that's the best on stage and perform excellent shows and get your record deal that way. You can be great songwriters and get your record deal that way. It's actually possible to just party and promote your band and get a record deal that way. I mean, it's that's kind of the fun behind it to me, is to be able to try those different strategies, and they all work. It's just a matter of how efficiently you do them.
Does the game still have the flyering
The
piece of it,
flyer
where you're like pasting flyers on top of each other bands'
Yeah, the
flyers?
flyer war is often people's favorite part of the game. It's a little area control thing where you're posting flyers at venues, and then you get a bonus or a reward if you have the most flyers at that venue at the end of a round. There are 3 locations, and you get a bonus for each one if you have the most there. But as you know, you post flyers there, another band can come and after you and cover your flyer with their own, and only the top one counts. So yeah, battling for those little area control things is often people's favorite part of the game,
Yeah, it's
and
a
thematic
very,
as well. I mean, that's
yeah,
actually what happened in the 80s.
exactly.
People would come over and cover other people's flyers.
That's so funny. Yep, I love that. Cool. Well, let's talk about how you prepared for this campaign, and kind of what changed between the lead up to this one versus the lead up to like Joystick Heroes, for example. What lessons did you learn that you applied here? However you want to approach that.
Yeah, with Joystick Heroes, I really didn't do much. I didn't know what I was doing. I hired a marketing company that ended up kind of dropping the ball. I mean, this is just a. I feel like this interview is going to be just a series of stories about other people dropping the ball for me. But um, yeah, and I just, like I said, I barely crossed the line on that one. It was very stressful. This one was different in the fact that I had a co-publisher that helped with a lot of advertising over the past year or so. and really built up the pre-launch follower list. And that is what definitely helped me cross the line on day one instead of day 29 like it was last time.
Yeah.
But I mean, other than that, I really realized the value of the grassroots approach
Mhm.
and posting to social media, building a Facebook page for the game, which I did not do for Joystick Heroes. Um, I had a modest amount of members on that page, but they were passionate, and every time I posted something, they were excited. So that was a thing
Nice.
that I did differently this time. Definitely had a bigger social media presence. Uh, Another thing I did was last year I took the game to Dice Tower West
Mm.
and also to RageCon, and I ran a series of demos of the game and just let people play it. And those people, they just had such a good time with it, and they became super fans of the game,
Nice.
and they helped spread the word.
Yeah.
Um, when this campaign launched, I got messages privately from a lot of them that said, I played this game last year at Dice Tower West. I remember loving it so much, and I'm here. I just bought 4 copies, and I told everybody about it. So that grassroots approach is definitely a thing, and I strongly recommend doing that if you're considering doing something like this.
Yeah, nothing beats getting people to actually play the game, because it's one thing to talk about it on social media, but to actually get people to sit down and experience it and love it,
Yeah,
nothing beats that. And then, of course, they're going to want to spread the word and get other people on board with it and stuff like that. So, yeah, I like that worked out for you. And that's a good lesson for other people to take away is any chance you get to a con and get some demo time, definitely take that up. I mean, that's how I ended up getting Twisted Trumpets signed.
yeah,
It's because I was
yeah,
demoing it, and Zev played it and loved it, and so you never know what could happen, right? You can find
yeah.
partners, you can find co-publishers, you can find super fans, so totally worth it.
Yeah, I think as a game designers, I think most game designers are kind of recluses. I don't want to,
Right?
introverts.
Oh
We're
yeah,
introverts. We're not
totally.
marketing people.
Yeah,
We're nerdy little guys in our studios or our bedrooms making games. So, trying to put on the hat of going out and promoting yourself and marketing yourself is not really our strong point. But like you said, just do it. Just go to some conventions, bring your games, let people play it. Um, be active in like Discord testing groups, things like that. That really helps. And the other thing that obviously helped a lot is allowing the pre-launch follower list to grow via advertising for a longer period of time. The
yeah,
co-publisher started advertising almost a year ago, and so we posted the project so people could sign up to be notified almost a year ago, and really let that kind of cook and simmer and build momentum. And 2000, we ended up with 2,260 pre-launch followers, which is modest compared to larger games and other publishers that are larger publishers. But for me, it was fantastic. I was thrilled
yeah.
having that many because Joystick Heroes had 550.
There's a big
So
difference.
makes a huge difference. It really does.
Yeah,
So those things, the social media, getting out to conventions, playing the game with people, like you said, and also building in enough time to build up that pre-launch follower list. Those were the things that I did differently this time that really helped.
did you have a follower goal in mind, or just kind of picked a
Not
date
really.
and
Yeah, not really.
yeah,
Just kind of started it and see where it went, and it was enough to get us to fund on day one, which is great. And
nice.
I think
So
also for this game in particular, I think it's the type of game that um, the people who like it really like it because of the
mhm,
theme.
yeah,
So I think that helped. It may not appeal to some, but it really appeals to others. So I think that helped.
yeah. It's a good lesson is finding a nice kind of niche theme that has built-in fans already.
Yeah,
can really help. And again, like, yeah, if you're going to really dig into a theme, then you are going to turn off some people who just aren't a fan of that theme. But that's
Yeah.
okay, because that means that it really appeals to the people who
Yeah, I
like
think it's
it.
good to take a chance on a theme like this that is different. There are lots of games about building a farm in the 18th century and going out and finding wood and sticks and bricks. But this
Right.
is different, and I think it's good to take a chance sometimes and try to pursue, especially if it's a theme that you're passionate about, like hairband and like your game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, speaking of launching, something that's a little different with this episode than past KickSaga episodes is that your game did already launch. It launched yesterday, in fact.
Yep.
Is it yesterday? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. So we already know how it's done. Like you said, it funded on day one. So if you want to kind of take us through the timeline of yesterday and how things went and what your thought process was.
Yeah. I had the weeks leading up to the campaign. I made myself a daily checklist of things I wanted to do, posting
Nice.
to social media, all the things that I spoke of earlier. So I just checked those off day by day. And when the game launched yesterday morning at 9 o'clock Pacific time, I was here, clicked the button, watched the backers roll in, was thrilled. And I spent the entire day immediately responding to comments and emails and posting to social media,
Nice.
responding to comments on social media, just anything that came in, I was here to respond immediately. I think that it's probably important to backers, and it's important to me to show appreciation for those backers by getting back to them immediately. So that's something I did. The guys in my gaming group were kind of online with me, rooting for me and helping me spread the word on their social media. So it was really a whirlwind day into the night, and I was really happy with everybody's support and thankful, grateful, very humbling to see your friends helping you out like this.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's a fantastic community.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
last night
And you've been
when I,
there. You've been there to help and support, folks who came before you, and so I'm sure they're happy to reciprocate. And that's kind of all part of the thing, right? We're happy to see each other do well and succeed, because it really is an industry where the tide lifts all boats, or whatever the saying is, right? Where
yes,
if the more people that get into gaming and the more people that are enjoying games, the better we all do. So it's just a lot
absolutely,
of fun to share in that success.
and especially when those people feel like they had a part in the success of the game because they play tested it, they helped you get it to get it to where it is today. So yeah, we're all rooting for each other in this industry, and that's fantastic. So I was super thrilled to be able to post my little badge on the hero image on the campaign last night that said funded in 10 hours. That
Nice.
felt fantastic. I had
Yeah.
a little drink with my wife and celebrated. So it was really cool to be able to
Very
do that.
cool. So kind of what's next? What are your plans for the rest of the campaign? Any surprises? Any kind of stretch goals or anything like that?
You know what? I made it a point to have no stretch goals with this. I just wanted to keep it simple for people. I personally appreciate that when I see a campaign that's just not just littered with stretch goals and money grabs and things like that. It definitely works. I think maybe in the future I may have some of those because I did have some different pledge options, and 95% of people have gone for the extra content.
Nice.
So maybe in the future I'll be like, okay, that worked last time. I might try that. But for this
Right.
one, I just wanted to keep it simple because of my first experience was stressful, and I didn't want to make this too complex. So for the rest of the campaign, I'm doing the same thing I did before the campaign. I'm making myself a daily checklist of things to do with the help of some um, marketing savvy friends, and just check them off one day at a time. Continue to um, reply to comments and post little bits of surprises to social media. I don't want to overwhelm people with updates in the campaign because I know that gets annoying. So, send one out maybe a couple a week. Um, Send people. I've done another interview that I want to, allow people to see why I made this game, things like that. This maybe I'll post as well as an update. Um, Also, just showing content, the basic stuff that people do.
Yeah.
What else did I have? I've got a list. I have to consult my list.
He's like, I don't remember it. I have it written down.
Well, yeah,
I
exactly.
don't have to remember
That's why I write things down.
Yeah.
No, but I also want to highlight the artist Bam Bang and his work.
Mm,
I've got some videos he sent me that show his process going from sketch to final illustration. I really want to highlight that because he's such an integral part of this game. As you mentioned earlier, the art that he created is just absolutely perfect for this game. So he deserves a lot of credit for its success, and I want to make sure that his work is highlighted.
absolutely. Yeah. That's a big draw for me to the game is those rocker, those rocker illustrations. It's so
I
cool.
mean, I'll just to briefly tell you about him. It's an insane story because I saw he posted something in a group on Facebook. It was a portrait he did of Mick Jagger, and it was a very
Mm,
cool style. And I was like, okay, that's really close to what I'm looking for these rockers with the kind of exaggerated, maybe larger than life head, and
yeah.
like the illustration style that you mentioned earlier, the Mad Magazine style. And I contacted him, and he was like, "Oh my God, I love hair metal. It's my favorite thing in the world." He just rattled off all these obscure hair metal bands that he's a huge fan of, and he lives in Indonesia. And I'm like, how do you know all this about American hair metal over from around across the world? It's just insane. So it's just a match made in heaven. I feel like so lucky that I was able to find him, and he just knocked out rocker illustration after illustration for a several year period. And every time he sent me one, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe how great this is. So yeah, it was amazing.
That's so cool. It's just how just kind of people find each other like that at the perfect moments.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it was a match made in heaven,
Yep.
or or
Sadly,
wherever
yeah,
wherever.
wherever this match would be.
Yes. Um, cool. Well, yeah, it's so cool to see the success you're having with this. I think it's a great lesson for folks watching who are thinking about maybe launching their first Kickstarter, or who have launched a game on crowdfunding and it didn't go as well as they were hoping. It's one of those things where you just have to keep going, keep pushing through. You get better each time you do it. You learn more lessons. You get more people following you, and it's not it's a good story, I think, for people to hear that there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, I think, for these types of things, if you just keep learning and keep trying
Yeah,
new things.
for sure. And
Any kind of
after the first one, I was going to say I promised myself I would never do another one again because it was so.
yeah, I remember that.
And that is why I did Five Words, the second game, straight to retail. I just didn't want to deal with it. But um, this worked out pretty well, and it was definitely less stressful this time. I mean, I did way more work this time than the first one, but I kind of knew what was going on, so I
Right.
was more comfortable. And just yeah, I would say if anyone's considering doing this, just give it one or two. And after this one, now I'm
Right.
like, okay, I'm completely comfortable doing this again.
Nice.
I know what I'm going to do for the next ones and whatever. So yeah, it's a great platform, and it's kind of the standard these days. And if you can get comfortable with it and get some experience, I think it's definitely worthwhile.
Nice. Awesome. Well, I think that's a good place to leave it then. If folks want to follow along, if they're seeing this during the campaign or after the campaign is over, where's the best place for folks to go to find you and your games?
Gosh, I mean, it's a really long, complex link for the Kickstarter campaign that maybe you can put in the description here.
Yes.
So that's where to go. Or you can also go to frownclowns.com, and there will be all kinds of links to the campaign from there, as well as our other games.
Sounds good. Yep, we will have a link to the Kickstarter page in the notes below this video. We will also have at the end of the video, we'll have the little link that you can go back to see Dickie's earlier interview about Joystick Heroes, so you can kind of see the progress that he's made and the growth that's happened between then and now. And definitely, if that theme of 80s hairband metal rockers sounds up your alley, do check out Hairband. Or if you just like a dice rolling, dice placement game, I think you'll really enjoy this one as well. So, hey, Dickie, thanks again for being here, and hopefully we'll have you on again for your third launch.
Thank you so much, Matt. I really appreciate it.
And thank you guys for checking out KickSaga. If you have anyone you know who is launching a game on crowdfunding, who'd like to talk about their experience, let them know that KickSaga exists. We're back, and we're going to start interviewing more folks to get some insights on how to launch your own game on crowdfunding in the future. So until then, I'm Matthew Rodella, and we'll catch you next time.